Now look at that, guys. I hope you can see that, Kane.
It's going on.
I hope you can see that amazing colour. Can you see that amazing colour? Can you see what I see?
Okay.
This has got to just shout out. Just got to shout out to the Boulder Opal lovers out there. Okay, so I don't know why this is, but I've noticed that our German customers tend to be the biggest fans of our lovely Australian Boulder Opal. Do not know why. Love to get your feedback, your comments, but it's just something I've noticed over the years, that it tends to be the lovely Germans that grab the most, or fall in love most. If I had to pick one demographic, look at the colour in that. So this is the same opal that forms in Cooper Pedy and Lightning Ridge. It's exactly the same hydrated silica with those little miraculous molecular alignments forming those beautiful colours, but it forms inside ironstone. Now ironstone is effectively jasper. If you had to pick a stone and sort of define it, it's often called wood fossil because the ironstone itself looks very woody with its sort of like lines and its lovely like the rings of a tree. But ironstone is incredibly hard, so Boulder Opal's a little bit different in that it can handle more heat when you're actually setting it and cutting it, which is a good thing really, because you've often got to carve the surface. So we actually have these undulating hills and valleys in Boulder Opal that you really have to follow the curves because it occurs in these very thin fissures. It's a very unique form. One of the things that I sort of like hold my heart in my hand when I watch the guys do it, but splitting them open with a big hammer, if you've ever watched the Opal Hunters shows, is quite terrifying. But what's happening there is when you hit a big Boulder Opal with a hammer, is the opal is splitting along the silica seam. So what happens is you get a little bit of a chisel, you make an indent, and then you actually split it, and what happens is that these two butterfly faces of opal split open because the silica seam is not as strong as the hard iron oxide. So that's why they're able to split open like that. But you get these incredibly beautiful colours, and the ironstone can vary in its body tone. So these ones are a lovely N1 because they're very black. So that body tone, the scale still applies to Boulder Opal. It does actually go from a very black base through to a much lighter base. So beautiful pair of earrings. Very, very, very hard to match, but these have got incredible, beautiful red pinfire colour. Absolutely stunning. That's a great pair of earrings. We do like to get a little bit of, you know, some of them have a little bit of design. We've got a lovely little dropping pair here with a lovely little drop on it. You can see that there's a little bit more ironstone in the surface of these two. They've got the little bit more of that obvious ironstone coming through into the surface. Now that is normal, okay? It is actually the exception of a Boulder Opal to have 100% clean, especially some sort of domed or even a flat face in a Boulder Opal with no ironstone. That is the exception to the rule. Okay, most of the Boulder Opals do have this. You can see the little spots, but the fire does flow through there, so they look really, really beautiful. And as far as uniqueness, Boulder Opals are, I'm going to put it out there, okay, I'm going to say this, going to make the call, arguably the rarest form of opal. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure the comments will blow up, but they are, and now there's a reason for that, okay, this is the reason. Boulder Opal, the mining process is different. When you mine a Boulder Opal, you've got to do what's called open cut mining, which means you've got to go in. So first of all, the spotter will go out on a dirt bike across the Australian landscape. Now the Australian landscape is fascinating. Very flat in areas. I mean, for hundreds of kilometres, there's very, very flat, and the trees are very sparse. So you can actually fly through the Australian outback on dirt bikes, and they look for what's called show of ironstone, which is the rock, the Boulder Opal. The actual rock comes out of the ground in some points to sort of reveal itself. So the spotter will fly through with pegs and we'll actually put up a peg where he sees some of the ironstone with a bit of a flag, bit of fluoro tape to actually show it. So they come through the trucks later and they start to do some excavation. And in that excavation, you can actually look for and start to dig up to see if there's any colour in the ironstone. And that process, unfortunately, can be rather extreme. Sometimes you've actually got to, always in Boulder Opal, you've actually got to dig up the whole area like a big swimming pool. You actually got to open, cut and dig up all of the space to actually get that ironstone out, and it's a huge job. It's a huge excavation. It takes an inordinate amount of time and it's very, very expensive. Digging up these big, huge boulders and then splitting them up to try and see if there's any colour in there, which is all great. Okay, it's a mining process. That's part of the process. The only problem is, if you don't find any colour, you've got to backfill everything and you've got to plant trees. Now, great for the environment, because what happens is that super hard ironstone surface, that rocky land, typically when it rains on the ironstone country, there's the ironstone is so hard the water doesn't get into the soil. It just basically runs off into rivers and disappears very quickly. But when you dig up an ironstone open cut, when you actually open it all up, you actually create a big oasis in the actual outback, because that water gets into where that open cut has been, fills it all up, and then it actually becomes a water container, like a swimming pool, and actually holds all of the water. So the trees that are planted become really, really healthy, and you create these little oases in the desert. So absolutely fantastic mining process for helping the environment, but pretty terrible for costs if you have to backfill and plant trees and rehabilitate a little bit of dirt in the middle of nowhere. Because that mining legislation is so tough, a lot of miners have actually left the fields. And in Australia, you can get amazing money working on gas pipelines and on the oil refineries. So a lot of miners just give up and they actually go and work in these other areas. Now, because of that, I understand that there's only half a dozen miners actively working the Boulder fields at the moment. So that's incredibly small amount of miners. It's nothing. Excuse me. Oh, that was noisy. Now, look at these little guys. Oh, these guys are so bright. You're going to love these ones. I'll try and get this colour so you can actually see it. Now, this is little black Boulder opals set in white gold with absolutely incredible colour. Oh, so bright. If I can stop. Look at that colour. Whoa. I hope you can see that. That is really spectacular. Really amazing colour. And this is where Boulder opal can be some of the brightest form of opal. You get these, look at those rolling red flashes and the greens. I mean, that is just absolutely spectacular colour. And in a pair of earrings matched like that. Now that is, again, another split. So they are actually the same piece of opal. We haven't actually cut them to size to sort of make them fit that shape. That is actually the Boulder opal as it occurred out of the ground, split as a butterfly pair to give you this incredible. So red colour, red, flashy red fire like that is really what we look for. Any opal you see that has a red, rolling red flash like that, just grab it, okay? Because it's super, super rare, super beautiful, super bright, and that's the sort of colour you'll see from 8 to 10 feet away, which you really want to see in a pair of earrings. Something that just jumps out and is so spectacular. That's really, really beautiful, and if you don't mind me saying so, quite a beautiful design. If I can be so bold. I think the Boulder opal looks amazing in white gold because it is a dark ironstone, and the white tends to really offset those really dark tones really beautifully. We do a lot of Boulder opal designs where we add a finishing touch. So in these ones here, you can see that little topping, that little hat of diamonds, just to finish it off. It sort of brings the asymmetry together, and it's a little technique we use in a lot of our Boulder opal designs where we actually just place some sort of design element in the earring that really helps unify it. Now, you know, obviously there are some customers, and we've had some great customers this year that have wanted literally asymmetrical individual earrings as a pair, which I think is really cool. I love anyone that has bold fashion choices. I just love that. They just go, nah, we want our earrings to be as they've come out of the ground. I don't care if they're different, but that is the exception. So with these ones here, we've got the lovely little diamonds on the top that just really elevate that whole setting. And I think it really works beautifully. Sometimes we use the directionality of the color as well. You can see there's got some lovely banding, vertical banding that really helps. And we always pay attention to any patterns inside the opal that will enhance the design or actually complement the design. So if the banding is going in a certain direction, or the color is, you know, showing some sort of pattern, we'll try and pick that up in the setting. So, and yet again, here we go, a little bit of banding in some beautiful Boulder opal. This one's just about the lovely pinfire pattern. It's just got some lovely classic little pair of earrings. Nice little squares, just beautiful. That's just a real classic, really classic little design. Probably the uniqueness being the square shape, because most earrings in opal tend to be circles or ovals. But so that's the Boulder opals, and look at that uniqueness, look at that color. And please remember, with all of our Boulder opal earrings, they're incredibly difficult to match up as pairs. So be patient with us. If you look at a pair of Boulder earrings, don't go into it like you would with a pearl and say, I want everything matching exactly, because it's just not the way the Boulder opals work. So I hope you enjoyed that little intro to earrings in Boulder opal. And if you have any questions, let us know. If you have any commissions, let us know. And love to see